Put on a suit. Drink water. Don't drink and drive.
Game over!
Take it light. Okay?
Now you're more fluent.
He got three!
Up, Bears.
So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Welcome back to Texas Rangers with the Boys. We are the Boys, your daily Texas Rangers podcast by a couple of pro wrestlers who love Rangers baseball. We want to thank you for making us the first listen of your day. This is your boy Kev, a.k.a. YBK Kevin Frazier. If you wonder why I'm so fired up after such a disappointing weekend, it's because we just did our Down on the Farm with the Boys recording, and we are fired up about the prospect of the prospects in this organization. So if you don't know, now you know our exclusive content, Down on the Farm with the Boys. I'll give you the website and all that good stuff, where to find that a little bit later in the show. But we're fired up talking about that because this is what we gotta switch the format sometimes, just to get ourselves fired up after such a rough weekend. And we're going to talk about it. We do have a kind of a position, I guess you would say. We don't always agree. In fact, that's what makes the show fun, is we don't agree on everything. But I think we both have come to the kind of the same conclusion about this team and really what the Rangers need to do to be successful for the duration of the season. Big trade. I don't know if big trade, a trade for the Rangers, a trade for the Rangers that we can talk about. And we're going to talk about some other stuff with Cody Bradford coming back, Josh Young coming back, Evan Carter probably not coming back. And we're going to talk a little bit about some Rangers historical tidbit.
Yesterday was a big anniversary.
Yeah, big anniversary. But we're also going to do box scores. We're going to preview. And honestly, no reason not to be optimistic because the Rangers didn't lose as much ground over the weekend as you might think. So we're going to talk about all of that and probably more on our show today. Before we get started, don't forget to check me out on social media, Kevin Lee Frazier, Frazier. Don't forget to check out Texas Rangers with the Boys on social media, TX Rangers, WTB. Don't forget to check out that website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
One word.
Yeah, that. And also right here on YouTube, we are on the Sports Fluent Network. I almost said Chilltown Hoops, taking it back to old school. But no, Sports Fluent Network. All you really need to do, go to YouTube, type in Texas Rangers with the Boys. We'll pop up, hit the subscribe button, and then just start watching our made-for-radio faces talk a little bit of baseball. So as always, joining me, my co-host, the 300-pound Manimal, a.k.a. Bull. Fresh off of a Matt War Pro weekend, he wrestled, he threw some people around, some clanging and banging. Who knows what happens? He'll tell us what happened. How you doing, buddy? Where can they find you on the socials?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I kind of got in the midst of a young hardcore hillbilly fella that thought that he could interrupt Matt War Pro. And I had to let him know that Matt War Pro is mine. I make that happen. You know, whatever the case may be. It was nice to be back in front of the Matt War Pro audience. Such a great group of fans. So it was nice to be back in front of them. The match wasn't a whole lot. He couldn't really keep up with the old Manimal. It was so short, in fact, that when we put together a clip music video, we could just show the whole thing, and we still had to put like 2.5 minutes of sea lions on the back of it to keep people entertained during the rest of the song, since there wasn't any match. So you know, sometimes you win so fast that you need sea lions to carry the rest of your music video, and that was the case on Friday night at Ultraviolet Dreamers. I don't know what the hypothermia mania was, but I did get to see all my friends from Martin House, Starry's Ice Cream. I got one of the Kelly's Onion Burgers. It was delicious. I made James go get me one early in the show. Had me some Martin House brews. I forgot to go back and see the Starry's Ice Cream lady after I wrestled. Biggest mistake I made of the night, besides just showing up. But other than that, Yeah, no, it was a good time out at the Southside Preservation Hall on Friday night, and they'll do it again soon. I believe the next date is the second anniversary show in October. So when I have more information about it, we'll start spreading the news. And as for me, I am always okay whenever they play baseball. So maybe I'm not watching the Rangers as much this weekend, but I definitely got a chance to go out and watch the Frisco Rough Riders on Saturday night. Get my first chance to look at Alejandro Ozuna, and probably like my 8th look at Ryan Garcia this year. Seems like he pitches no matter what day I show up there. I was hoping to get an Emiliano Teodo start when I made the arrangements to go out to the ball yard, but the Rangers scratched him this weekend. So probably just the fact that he's worked more innings than he's ever worked in his entire career so far, and he's been so dynamic and electric that they don't want to shut him down, but they also don't want him to throw too many innings down the stretch here as well. But yeah, so far so good. Twitter, Manimal Bull, Instagram, Manimal300, and both Facebook and TikTok at Bull Pro. So come on, hit me up on the social medias. We'll talk about the Rangers. Always got some. You got some questions. I got some answers.
Yeah, well,
they're not right or anything, but it's fun.
It is what it is. Well, they are. Teodo is for whatever reason, and I gotta hope it's not true, but he's definitely the source, I guess, of trade rumors.
A little bit, yeah. I don't know how much legitimacy there is to that. I mean, when I look at the Rangers right now, I look at him as probably one of their top 2 prospects in their system as of right now. So maybe we'll see. I don't think that they're really interested in trading him, but at the same time, the right thing comes around and puts you in a position to win. You never do know.
Yeah. We'll take another banner if Emiliano Teodo is going to be Teodo is all it's going to be, or all it's going to cost to get that done. You know what? I haven't
got to guarantee a banner, and I don't think you can do that.
I'll say this, man. We've talked about just the noisiness of the Major League Baseball ballpark this year, and that it's hard to get. Next time we go out, what we're going to do is we're going to get earbuds in. We're going to call each other, and we're going to put it on noise cancel so you can't hear all the nonsense, and then we can actually talk
during the game. Yeah. I actually have a pair of earbuds just for that now.
I mean, I am literally not kidding. And if there's like 5 of us, we'll just group call. We'll just have a
big chat. Yeah,
just have a group audio chat and talk like that. Because my point is that now you went to Frisco and you said it's just like a normal baseball game now.
Yeah, I mean, you might catch every once in a while them play a quick snippet of some music, like after a foul ball or something like that. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I mean, we had no problems chatting up the whole game and enjoying baseball. Man, in my opinion, if you go to the stadium, that you're going there to enjoy the baseball game. You're not going there to be entertained by Rihanna for 3 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
Every couple of minutes or in between every pitch.
Yeah. What Rihanna's S&M song with Britney Spears in it has to do with baseball, I'm still trying to figure it out. But
when you find out, you do let me know, okay?
Yeah, I'm still trying to find that out. But hey, the travesty is I haven't gotten out to a Rough Riders game this year, so I'm making a commitment right now that I'm going to go see at least 2 Rough Riders games before the season is out.
They're really good. It's a really good baseball team right now.
Especially now that we're talking about the possibilities of some of these players that might end up on this playoff roster. And again, something that we're talking about on our exclusive content down on the farm with the boys. We cover all things Rangers minor league, but we're not quite to that just yet. We're at Rangers news. So first things first, Rangers lose 0. Well, not 0. They lose a little ground over the weekend with the disappointing road to Toronto, but really nothing insurmountable.
And nothing, yeah, no. I mean, if they would have came out of this thing 5.5+ back, they lost 3 games out of it, or this past week, coming out of it, 2.5 back going into the weekend, you come back out of it 4.5 after getting swept north of the border there. So, you just got to regroup in St. Louis and hope that,
Well, and
a
remember
couple of these
things.
guys,
Sorry,
a couple
sorry.
of these guys that are getting healthy will be there in St. Louis waiting.
You got ideas too, bro. I forget that you got to talk too on this show. No, one thing we can't forget though is, I mean, the Rangers are playing a ton of games coming off of the All-Star break. I mean, 13 in a row. This is tough. And
They've
on the
done
road,
that to the Rangers twice this year
yeah,
to
they had
start
a
the
14
season,
gamer too.
and
10 games on the
yeah,
road during that 14 gamer. This time
yeah.
they've got 6 and no break. I mean, you lose an hour too from that Chicago series going to Toronto. You lose an hour.
And then
So
you gain it back here in
coming back, but
St. Louis, yeah.
yeah, so no days off really for the Rangers. Post All-Star, and every team in their division did get, or at least the teams they're playing, they're playing, playing for first place against did. But hey, remember how excited we were when the Rangers got to 4.5 games back? Remember how excited
I mean,
we
for
were?
a team
All right,
that
let's
it
get
was
excited
in
about
the
it again.
middle of June, they were 10 games back. So, I mean, they cut half of it off in about a month. So, yeah,
Yep.
no, there's nothing wrong with what's happening here right now. I mean, you'd love to have seen them win some games, of course. I mean, that's the way it goes. But, I mean, you just hope that when they get to St. Louis, there's a couple of guys there to meet them. And hopefully one of them is Josh Young, because I got to see him in his rehab start. He had a base knock. Also, last night he had a double down the line, 107 miles an hour off the bat. So, outside of him getting hit by a pitch every damn time he walks to the plate.
Twice, right?
Yeah, he got hit twice over the weekend. Got hit last night. It was a hip job, so no big deal. But tonight getting hit again, or last night getting hit again. So, yeah, I don't like the fact that Josh Young keeps getting hit every time he goes to the plate. But other than that, I mean, I'm ready for him to be back. I think he's ready. I think he's healthy. I think it's there. I think it's time. And I think everybody else has got the same sense of urgency on that as I do.
Yeah, man, we want to see Josh Young back and playing for this team. Yeah, so getting hit by pitches is unfortunate, but
and it's not like this is just like started. I mean, last year it wasn't like he got hit by a ton of pitches. I think he's only got like 5 for his career.
Yeah, some guys have a knack for it, like Josh Smith. But
who's kind of looking for it a little bit.
He really does. So while we're talking injuries, before we talk about the huge addition the Rangers made for the trade deadline, so Josh Young almost ready. Evan Carter's going to get a second opinion. Neither one of us are very optimistic about
not really
Evan Carter right now.
Not really, because remember last week he's just a couple of days behind Josh Young.
Yep. That was what they said.
That was Wednesday on the broadcast.
36 to 48 hours.
And then on Friday, it was announced that he was going out in California way, looking for a second opinion. So,
for some internet.
I'm seeing this this comp that he's kind of getting, like the Grady Sizemore comp of, he's a really terrific player, but we may never see him play at the level that we were hoping that we would get to see him play. So I don't know. I don't want to put that on him. I don't want to put injury prone on him or anything like that. The whole Rangers fan base doesn't want to put injury prone on Josh Young, and he's never played a full season of baseball in his whole damn life. So I don't want to put it on Evan Carter already if we're dying on a Josh Young isn't injury prone hill. Then I don't want to put the same thing on Evan Carter just yet because it's so early in his career, and we'll find out. He's still just a baby, man.
Carter, he played all last year. I mean, he was healthy.
Well, he had a little bit of time, but it wasn't back related last year. I mean, he had a thumb injury, and came back and was really dynamic all through the second half of the season for Frisco, and then we saw what happened when he got to the big leagues. So yeah, I mean, I'm not real optimistic on this season for Evan Carter, but I would definitely love to see him get back, get healthy, and be able to ride out the rest of this 5 years that he'll have left under control after this year.
So what do you think about this John Gray thing? Guy didn't even really get to get out, didn't even.
Yeah, some tightness in his groin, right? I mean, that could be just some tightness in his groin that gets him a scratch today and you put him back on in 5 days. Or it could be something where they have to make a decision on what they're going to do with him for at least 15 days. I think if the decision is made, I think Cody Bradford, if he's healthy, is going to get that opportunity to replace him. It may not be in the starting rotation. Maybe Dane Dunning might get that opportunity first, so we'll just kind of see. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Well, let's jump off.
Oh, that's why. That's
the uncomfortable pause was for. Well, hey, let's jump off these Rangers injury news and talk about this blockbuster trade that the Rangers did to bring in some major offense for the team. Because man, we've been needing offense. And
I don't know that Carson Kelly is just the offensive juggernaut that we were looking for, but when you look at the numbers of Carson Kelly this year, he's actually been better than Jonah Heim and Andrew Kisner. He's been much more valuable on the field than both of those guys. So, maybe the Rangers are at a point. I imagine that Kisner will probably talk about it tomorrow, his DFA. Because there's no need to keep 3 catchers, and me and you have talked about it. I mean, he has been not very good this year. His catching numbers have been a little bit better, but he hasn't hit at all. You haven't got any kind of power or anything like that from him. So, it's just who knows? Who knows? I'm not much. I mean, look, Andrew Kisner. Whoever the case is on the backup catcher, they got one job, and that's to be at least adequate while you're resting your starting catcher. And let's be real honest, Andrew Kisner has not been that this year.
No, he really has not. Yeah, we've talked about it. I don't know if we've talked a ton about it on the show, but I know you and me have talked about it off the air that, kind of been a disappointment. As far as
I'd agree. I think they thought they were going to get a bargain on a guy that was coming off a pretty decent season in St. Louis the year before, and he just didn't. He didn't rekindle that he had in St. Louis, because if he would have done what he did there last year, he would have been a more than adequate backup catcher.
I agree. We had high hopes for him, but we need
definitely. Definitely, and I mean, they're not going to keep 3 catchers right now with Sam Huff on the 40-man.
No, not at all. So yeah, Rangers give up a couple guys. One guy, I don't know if Hicks was even a guy that was.
I don't know.
About him on the Rule 5 or anything.
I think Liam Hicks is very much in the mold of a backup catcher. You're probably not going to ever see him do more than that. I think he's a good hitter, but he's not a great hitter. He had a really spectacular fall league last year for the Sajeros. But overall this year, he's been okay. He's had stretches where he's been really, really good. But for the most part, he's just, he's just been okay. But that okay is okay. I mean, he's still developing. He's still a young guy. I look more, I'll continue to follow his career as he moves on to Detroit. And, he's a guy that could probably be a backup catcher in the big leagues, but probably not any more than that. I think he does make enough contact, though, to be a backup catcher and get at bats, every 4th or 5th day in a lineup.
Awesome.
And then Tyler Owens.
You're not happy about this.
I'm not really that happy about this, because that's 2 bullpen hands that were at the AA level that the Rangers have given up for, not to say that Carson Kelly isn't better or as good or whatever, but I mean, Robbie Grossman and Carson Kelly for Tyler Owens and
Natoa.
Tua Natoa. That just doesn't bode well for me. But you get to a point where these guys are at 40-man limitations and all of that stuff, and you got to deal with losing them at some point in the next year or whatever. But I just don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to manage a 40-man roster, and it's hard because, there's a bunch of guys that were on the Rangers 40-man roster at certain points in their careers that right now are really doing well, like Hans Kraus and Tyler Phillips and some of these guys that the Rangers developed. You're seeing them do well in other places because they just ran out of time here.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. I mean, that happens a lot with pitchers. You see them like, oh man, when did that guy end up in LA or whatever? And he's out there spinning a gem. And you're like, man, he was a guy that we looked at and thought was going to be good. And he is good. It's just, he ran out of time here. I mean, there's guys that's happening to right now with like Owen White and Cole Winn, and they're running out of time here because how long can you keep them on the 40-man roster when they're not producing at the big league level?
Yeah, and that's a great point of like going back to the draft, and just my personal opinion. Like the last thing I want to do is draft a guy, spend all this time developing him, putting all this time and money and effort and coaching into him, and we end up with situations like this.
You just end up losing him. I mean, there's lots of guys that you just end up losing in the Rule 5 minor league portion of the draft because they're somebody is. Yeah. I mean, at the moment that
we got 10? We could probably name 10 players over the last 2 years or more that like that the Rangers
you had high hopes for, and they're not even on the team anymore. Yeah, I mean, it starts with like AJ Alexi and Spencer Howard and Glenn Otto and Tyler Phillips and. Man, there's so many guys. We talked about Hans Kraus.
Hans Kraus. You got the guy that's over at Slayton.
Slayton, and you've got Mason Englert in Detroit, and you've got guys that are on big league teams all over the country right now. And the Rangers, I mean, it just ended up being either you had to make a decision, and sometimes they made the right one, sometimes they didn't.
Yep. And
so we had some history that happened yesterday, right? Like
we did.
Yesterday,
you tell. It was your story.
Yesterday was the 30th anniversary of Will Clark Jersey Day, at ballpark in Arlington in 1994. Right? Isn't that what happened?
Well,
wait. That's not right. It was the night that Kenny Rogers threw the first and only perfect game in Texas Rangers history. Our guy Rusty Greer made some of the greatest catches of Rangers fandom that night to keep that thing alive and keep the perfect game alive. And Kenny Rogers, he was spinning it pretty good that night.
Man, oh man. Kenny Rogers, perfect game. Remember Kenny Rogers started out as just like a middle reliever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from what I heard, he kind of got like signed by somebody that was kind of doing a favor and throwing like 75 miles an hour coming out of high school and stuff, and just worked his way into having let's be real honest, a really good career that lasted a long time. He got paid. He got, he always ended up back in Texas. And man, Kenny Rogers was one of those. I mean, he got paid pretty nicely by Detroit, if I'm remembering correctly.
Well, and he was on the 1996 World Series champion New York Yankees, which was like broke through the glass ceiling team.
Well, and that was the 96 team where he pitched really well in the playoffs against the Texas Rangers that year.
Yep. Remember the Rangers decided they weren't going to bring him back. And
they went and dealt for John Burkett.
Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, looking back on those are the kind of situations where you do both. You keep Kenny Rogers and you bring him.
And you deal for Burkett later on in the season. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not against that. I mean, they They tried to replace him with like Todd Stottlemyre and John Burkett and a handful
Well,
of
and this
guys.
was the year after a year removed from Kenny Rogers winning 17 games and going to the All-Star game.
He had some seasons. I mean, we talked about it. I mean, Kenny Rogers was a good pitcher, and it's fun to reminisce a little bit about some of the guys that came through here and did some really special stuff here.
Yep, 219 career wins for Kenny Rogers. Won 17 or more games 4 times, 3 times, almost 4. Yeah. He went from leading the league in games pitched in 92 to winning 16 games as a starter in 93. And as they say, Bull, the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice career for Kenny Rogers.
Nice career. Yeah, Kenny Rogers was a good pitcher for a lot of years.
Oh, 5-time Gold Glover, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He could field his position for sure.
5-time Gold Glover, 4-time All-Star, and pretty much beloved everywhere he went. Everybody, he was always
for that guy, that Fox 4 news camera guy that he shoved down in the dugout that one time. Remember that? Yeah, he just pushed him down. He was like, "Get out of here!"
Oh, back when men were men.
Back when men were men. When we used to push camera guys down when they were in our way. When men
were men.
That's right.
Sweet. Hey, I've mentioned it at least 15 times thus far.
Already, yeah, we did a little something earlier, right?
Yeah, but we've got a little extra pep in our step because we got back to our top 10 format on our
1 week only.
What's that?
1 week only. For 1 week only. Yeah.
For 1 week only, we got back on that top 10 format for Down to the Farm with the Boys. We went around the league and talked about the top 10 players in the organization. And really, it was exciting because, it's great when you got a guy that you didn't, expect to do good, does good. But what we really want to see are your top prospects that you're spending money and time and resources on doing well. And a lot of the top prospects in the organization right now are doing really well. And we talked a lot about it. And I'm not going to give you too many names because if you don't know the names, then you need to know. And if you don't know, you should go check out our exclusive content. It's called Down on the Farm with the Boys, where we cover all things Rangers, minor league. Go to Spotify. Just go right to Spotify. Just go to Spotify, go to the app, click that subscribe button. Super easy. If you want to subscribe on our website, you can go to TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
That's one word.
You can do it there as well. It's just $1.99 a month. You make us your one-stop shop for all things Rangers, organization-wide. And, one of the fun parts about the show this week is, most of the show is littered with the Rangers top 10 type prospects. But we did have one guy who beat everybody out that a name you might not have heard or haven't heard a lot on the show, but somebody you might want to get excited about. We talked a lot about a guy last year named Abimelec Ortiz that got a lot of people excited. Now, this guy could be a very similar type situation for the Rangers this year. Big boy, big hitter, blazing his way through the Rangers organization. So go check it out. We're going to talk about it. Really exciting. Lots of fun stuff. And I think we've got our top 40 prospect list on the horizon.
Yeah, 40 through 31. 40 through 31 this week. So
there we go. So we're going to
do it slow so we have time to talk about all the kids that we haven't talked about yet or gush about the ones we just love so much.
Absolutely. And the cool part is we're going to talk about their most recent exploits as well. So you'll get up-to-date news while we're doing it. It's going to be fun. Can't wait. We're excited. Top 40 lists. Lists are one of our favorite things to do anyway. So we do them all the time. So, hey, let's get into it. We got to do it. We got to rip the Band-Aid off. Rangers get swept up.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably go pretty quick through this. Friday was the one that got away. Mm-hmm. The Rangers take a loss there. I think, the bullpen wasn't bad, but they gave up a couple of runs that they really just couldn't give up. And, Andrew Heaney probably, let's be real honest. That was Andrew Heaney's worst start since the 1st of April. And It wasn't awful. He gave him 5 innings. He gave up a 3-run home run in the first inning. He calmed down, or he settled into the game pretty nicely and just gave up 1 earned after that. But, Hernandez, he gives up the run behind him. And then, Spores puts a couple of guys out there. They try and go to Yates right there and get themselves out of that jam to get them into the 10th inning, and it just didn't work out right there. Spores ends up taking the loss. We talked about this a little bit before the show. It almost seems like when the Rangers have just the tiniest of hiccups from their rotation, they just can't make that up offensively to get the W that they need. And I mean, they had, 10 hits, 5 runs. They had three extra base runners. And, so they had guys out there all day. It wasn't the worst offensive output of the season for the Rangers at all. They got a big home run from Adolis Garcia in the 5th inning. And, they got production and they scored runs, but they just had that little bit of hiccup from Andrew Heaney in the first inning, and they just couldn't quite hold on to what they needed to, because they got back into that game after that. But it just,
I'll say this: it even I would even go as far as to say bullpen too, because this team has not shown the offensive fortitude to go back and forth with a team and pick up their pitching like their pitching's been picking them up all year. So even if your bullpen comes in, has a rough go at it, we had a really bad bullpen. We know what a bad bullpen looks like, and we know what it takes to overcome that in the 2023 Rangers. And then this year you can see that, like, when you don't have that consistent offense inning in and inning out, putting pressure on the other team, it's just very hard to overcome it. And the Rangers offense has not really shown the ability to kind of go back and forth in an offensive match like this, like they did. And really that, to me, was the story over the weekend more than the pitching performances here in these games, because we looked back over the whole month of July, and the games that the Rangers are winning, they're holding these other teams to 2 runs, 0, 3, 2 runs, 3 runs, 1 run, 0 runs. But you just don't see a ton of runs where the Rangers picked up the pitching, where the pitching had a struggle, and the offense came out there and picked them up. You just have not seen that.
You haven't seen that 13-7. You've seen that 7 from the other teams. And you saw it this weekend. Real quick, man, Chad Green is good, dude.
Yeah, very.
He just is so consistent. He's not a huge strikeout guy or anything like that, but man, he gets the job done. Chad Green has been really good his whole career.
One thing too, you said that there was a 3-run homer. I'm looking on here. I didn't see the
2-run homer.
Well, it looks like Heaney didn't give up. There was no home runs.
He gave up the 3 runs. I meant to say 3 runs in the first inning. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he got 3 runs in the first inning. It looks like we had the couple of doubles. We had the Horowitz, and then we had the.
Yeah, I don't know where that home run came from. I just meant the 3 runs in the first.
We'll probably find it as we go through the rest of these games. We'll probably.
We're definitely gonna find one on Saturday for sure.
But why don't we go ahead and wrap?
Quick.
Friday's the one that got away. You'd have really liked to seen him get that win on Friday, because you didn't know. You felt good after it in some ways. Like, okay, well, they're hitting a little bit. They're producing a little bit. Maybe.
Get a couple over the weekend. No, I get it. And Chad Green, he gets that win. He's 3-2 with a 1.74 ERA. And Josh Spores, he takes the loss. It's a little bit of tough luck there too. I mean, he wasn't bad at all. His 8th inning was really good. It just got away from him a little bit in the 9th. And the Rangers fall 6-5 on a walk-off from the Toronto Blue Jays at the bottom half of the 9th inning there on Friday night. And let's get into Saturday a little bit. Michael Lorenzen didn't have a whole lot, did he?
I mean, he did he even get out of the first inning? No.
He got 2 outs.
First inning, didn't even.
Yeah, I mean, he was at 40 pitches. You had to kind of get him there. I mean, Jose Urena came in and did a really good job of getting them some length on Saturday. And
really not bad at all from either Urena or Dunning when you really look at the total. So at 7 1/3, they give up 3 runs over 7 1/3, 4 Ks. You're not mad about that.
No, and that would have definitely kept them in the ball game. It was those 4 early runs that just put things away for the
Same story, Bill.
yeah.
God forbid the pitching have a rough weekend,
Yeah.
and
Well,
just
and
really nothing. Like nothing
well,
after
and
the third.
the Rangers kind of got themselves back in that thing in the 3rd inning, and were able to put a couple of runs on the board after Wyatt Langford doubles home Marcus Semien, and Dolly drives in Wyatt Langford, and they pulled a 4-3, and you're thinking, okay, maybe they can get past this Lorenzen start and maybe make us look like kind of fools for talking about them not being able to get past that without getting a good start. But, the bats just turned off right there, and the Blue Jays added a run here, added a run there, and just kind of got that thing to a point where it wasn't really getting back into it. Once they got back, once it got up to 6 or 7-3, you didn't feel like the Rangers bats were doing that much anyways. They had 4 hits.
13 at bats from Nate Lowe, Jonah Heim, Leody Tavares, Andrew Kisner. Is it Andrew Kisner?
Yeah.
13 at bats from those 4 guys. 1 guy got on base, and that was
one
a walk.
walk. Yeah,
One
Nate
walk.
Lowe walk. And,
Yep. No production from that part of the lineup.
And not a ton of production from the top either. Semien was on base a couple of times, but other than that, nobody, they had a hit from Semien, Seager, Langford, and Garcia. They were able to piece the couple with Langford and Garcia to put a couple on the board. But for the most part, the Rangers just couldn't get the bats going. And this is about the best Kevin Gausman's looked all season. And, goes the distance. Yeah, goes the distance and pushes himself out to 9-8. But the Rangers, like we said, pitching wise, they did a good job once they got into the bullpen and with Lorenzen kind of struggling, but it just wasn't enough after they gave up those 4 early ones.
Yeah,
Lorenzen gave up a solo shot to Dalton, or a 2-run job to 3-run job on Saturday in the 1st inning. So I probably was putting the cart before the horse there, and putting that home run on Andrew Heaney when he didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve that. I'm sorry, Andrew Heaney. Andrew Heaney. Is good all year. Let's be honest. Let's wrap this up. Gausman gets the win. He's 9-8 with a 4.44 ERA, and Lorenzen, even after taking such a hard loss here on Saturday, still 5-6 with a 3.87 ERA. Still nothing wrong with what Michael Lorenzen's done this year. And you know what? He came out yesterday afternoon in that game and gave him 4 strong or whatever down the stretch there. To kind of bail the bullpen out for the weekend after he kind of put him in that spot. And, John Gray makes the start today and doesn't throw 1 pitch.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool that Lorenzen came in and did what he did because, for one, it was good for the stats, but it's also shows what kind of team player he is. And the other thing about Lorenzen, dude's a horse. He seems like one of those guys that's ready to play every single day, keeps his body in shape. And I wish more guys would do that. A lot of this stuff we talk about, pitchers getting hurt and all these things that we kind of whine about in terms of just these players and their, but man, a guy like Michael Lorenzen that keeps himself in shape, keeps himself ready to go. You wish you just saw more of that with all these guys. Anyways, I digress. That's not what we're talking about. Let's talk about Sunday. It was hard. Yeah,
that one was rough. And you know what Jonathan Hernandez made me feel like I was watching last night or yesterday afternoon when I was watching the game was Josh Sborz in that Astros series last year where just nothing would go right for him. He gave up a couple of home runs after making an emergency start, and this isn't this is the most emergency of all emergency starts. Just didn't have a whole lot, didn't bring a whole lot to the table. Latz wasn't bad. And then Lorenzen came in and kind of gave him a little bit of a bailout down the stretch there and pitched 4 solid innings and, made up for the fact that he couldn't get get anything done the night before. He throws 55 pitches, so that ends up putting him at about 95 for the weekend. So he'll get back on track. He'll make his next turn in the rotation, and we'll kind of find out who may make that next turn in the rotation for John Gray, probably in Michael Lorenzen's spot to give him an extra day.
Well, and remember this, and we talked about this with Lorenzen, and I've talked about it at length all year. The versatility of these guys, and the versatility of pitchers. When we talked about Urena and the great job he did for bailing Lorenzen out the day before, Dane Dunning getting you 3 innings there. And then, Lorenzen, he has a background as a bullpen guy, so he knows what it's like to pitch and then have to turn right around, pitch an inning, turn right around and go out and pitch again. Yeah. I think that's a great value to have on your team. And I just can't see why you wouldn't kind of want to see more of this in the MLB now because of the fact that these guys don't go, 9 innings all the time anymore. Having more pitchers on your squad that can come in at the back end of a start and give you 3 innings to get you into the back end of your bullpen instead of.
And another thing that happened this weekend that's happened to the Rangers all season this year, 200 Mendoza line Dalton Varsho.
Yeah.
Is the guy that killed them all weekend long. Dalton Varsho's hitting 202 with what an on-base percentage of let's see, let me pull it up. 284 and a slugging percentage of 408. He's basically a 600 a 700 on-base percentage guy, or on-base plus slug guy. So he's about league average, a little lower than league average, and that's the guy who killed them all weekend long.
Yeah,
you expect Vlad Guerrero to kill him. If Vlad kills you, Vlad kills you. But Dalton Varsho can't be the guy that just kills you, man. It just can't happen that way, and it's happened to him all year. Jose Barrios, he picks up the W, pushes him back over 500 at 9-8 with a 3.93 ERA. And Jonathan Hernandez took the loss. He's 3-1 now with a 5.05 ERA. And because Genesis Cabrera couldn't quite get anybody out there in the 8th inning, the 8th or 9th inning, I can't remember. 8th inning, I think. Zach Pop comes in, and he's going to record a save after getting just what? Well, he went an inning and a third. So, so Zach Pop gets the save. That's his first save, probably his first save of his career, if I had to guess. So the Rangers swept out of Toronto. I can't imagine they can get across the border fast enough. It's time to move on to St. Louis and see if you can't right the ship in St. Louis. And we'll probably have tomorrow some interesting transaction moves that were made by the Rangers front office to get them ready for St. Louis. And, we'll have something from there. I don't know what you looked at the pitching matchups yet for tomorrow, or.
Well, Rangers are heading way out west. Remember, St. Louis used to be out west.
That was the actual, the gateway to the West. Yeah. Damn that Lewis and Clark, making them a Midwestern state or whatever. But Nate Eovaldi's going to take the ball for the Rangers, and he'll be opposed by Andre Palante for the Cardinals. He's 4-4 this year with a 3.92 ERA. He hasn't made a ton of starts this year. He's only made 9 starts out of it. So 50% of his appearances are starts. So, we'll see what happens. They may be going a little bit of a bullpen game. They got one of those young Woodward-style coaches that likes to, mismanage a game pretty good. So we'll see what happens with the Rangers and the Cardinals this week. But we'll preview the next 2 games tomorrow when we're on here. So looking forward to Eovaldi and Palante tonight from Busch Stadium up in St. Louis.
Yeah, and don't sleep on these Cardinals, man. They're a pretty good team. They've shown some real
They got
guts.
some fight in them, and they're right there in the mix in that wild card round in the National League, and right there on the precipice of the National League Central. So
Yeah, because they were pretty much left for dead early in the season, and they scratched and clawed and fought their way back, all the way back to
always dangerous with Goldschmidt and Arenado in the lineup and Wilson Contreras. So we'll see what happens.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, I think that's all we got going here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget to check us out on social media, TX Rangers WTB. Don't forget to check out that website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
Yeah, that's one word.
You can also check us out right here on YouTube on the Sports Fluent Network. Just type in Texas Rangers with the Boys on there, and you'll find us. We'll pop right up. Go subscribe. You won't regret it. Big shout out to all of our farm hands who subscribe to our exclusive content down on the farm with the boys, where we cover all things Rangers minor league. And that's going to do it for the day for the 300-pound minimum. This is your boy Kev. We are Texas Rangers with the Boys. We're signing out.